this is Conversations with Faye.
Point. I know your reserve was here. Let's look at bringing it back a little bit if you really want to sell.
So let's find out.
Cold hard facts of the way an auction runs.
Okay.
Sold. Parameters here.
Put this one on.
I'm going to put it on a different way now.
I knocked the top over the top price off,
Right.
and I knocked the bottom under the market price off.
Those difficult decisions around what age are the kids.
Should I or should I?
All the land sizes up. You divide that.
Let's see. Live. Conversations with Faye. Changing minds. One conversation at a time. And subtle consequences. Welcome to Conversations with Faye. I'm Faye Waterman, and today my guest is Garry McPherson, and he's back for another conversation, and this time it's about marketing cycles. Welcome, Garry, and thank you once again for your time.
Thank you, Faye.
Now, we're going to be talking about marketing cycles.
Okay. When you're talking about marketing cycle, normally what you're talking about is from a sales point of view, not from a purchasing point of view. Ideally, remembering that I'm a buyer's advocate,
Yes.
but I'm trained as a selling agent. So I understand both sides of the coin, and it's important to understand both sides of the coin to be able to play them effectively.
Okay.
A marketing cycle is generally what's referred to as the time frame between when the property is first signed up to be listed to when it's sold. So that time in between is when it's marketed.
Garry, and that can be quite stressful for the vendor.
Correct. Probably one of the biggest, the most high pressure situations you're going to face in your life, really. We refer to our homes as our assets.
Yeah.
Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But let's assume for the moment that it's the biggest purchase we ever make. And it's probably one of the biggest sales we ever make.
You know, you've got people, because you have open days, you've got people coming and going, so therefore you've got to have your house in looking good, smelling good, doing all those things that entice people.
Correct.
To feel comfortable when they first step into the home.
It's an assault on the senses, yes.
Is it a gimmick? Is it?
How so?
I think if you walk into a home, regardless of whether, you know, there's bread cooking, a cake cooking, or there's, you know, sense or soft music going or whatever, you get a sense or a feel for a place. Or I would. Maybe a lot of people wouldn't.
Okay, this is more the neuroscience side of things.
Here we go.
To be honest, it's more of the subconscious programming side of things than it is the real estate side of things. We don't all quite realise the effect that these little things have on our mind or on our state.
True.
And the fact that we don't understand how they work tends to make us think that they're not all that important. Now, that's a really broad spectrum thing, but let me just put it this way. If you cast your mind back to a time when you were a younger person and you first smelled that fresh bread coming out of the oven.
Oh, I smell that every week when I cook it.
There you go. That fresh bread coming out.
Oh, it's nothing nicer.
Exactly.
Nothing nicer.
Think about the mental state that you've just put yourself in just by thinking about the scent. Now imagine that you're consciously focused on the property. How many bedrooms? What's the floor look like? Is there any issues with the ceiling or the stumping? And this is where your mind's running at this point in time. The pattern's just clicked onto cognitive analysis of the property, and you get assaulted with the smell of fresh bread.
And it distracts you from what you're looking at.
It instantly sets you mentally in a position where you're happy. Now that fresh bread can be something as simple as a candle.
Yes.
Right? A scent can bring us back. So in terms of how these properties are staged, the music's important.
Yes.
Right? The smells, the scents, they're important. The light's important. It's imperative. The light's imperative. All of these things go to assault the subset of requirements that we need in our life that we're not focused on when we're walking through the home. When we walk through any home or any investment property, for the most part, we're focused on the structure, on the does it fit this bill, does it not?
Is there enough storage?
Yeah.
Are there enough bedrooms? Is there plenty of space in each bedroom and they're not all pokey and horrible?
Mm-hmm. And we're not focused on, does it smell nice? Is it well lit? Does it have the best sort of sounds? You know, and they're the parts that help us make the decisions. So they're the parts that the agents will tend to lean on.
Okay. So it's the psychological, draws people in, and then they start looking at the reality of what's there.
Yeah, look, we go to see a place because it's real. So when we search on the internet, this is really great. When we search on the internet, we don't key into realestate.com.au. Must smell like bread.
Must smell like bread.
Must smell like bread. We key how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how much land. So we're talking,
and the price.
of course, everything is always price driven.
Yeah.
We key in all of the parameters that we want that are logical and in our mind. Okay. Now, here's where it gets really screwy. None of the decisions that we make are based in that part of the mind. They're all based in the emotional part of the mind.
It's all emotional, isn't it?
Everything's emotional.
It's an emotional journey of purchasing a home, selling a home, allowing people to walk through your home when you're not there and you've got all your personal things around. You may have put lots of them away, but there's still stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like the feel of strangers walking through my home.
Would you let strangers walk through your home for $1 million?
Yeah. Got me there.
That's how it works.
Yeah. It's because you're wanting to sell it and you're wanting to get a result, you'll do what you have to.
There's a price point at which you'll allow people to walk through. That's just the way it works.
We've talked about this before, but how long should a property be on the market for before it becomes, I'm going to say stale, or before it becomes overlooked or starts to be overlooked? And what are the reasons?
I have some theories on this.
Right.
So actual market, if we're talking about the way we're taught to do things, it's 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Do many properties sell in 4 weeks?
Yeah, definitely. It's where you have options.
Right. Okay. So your option starts and it goes for a period of...
Ignoring the preamble. So when anybody lists a property, what you'll find is that the agent will come around and they'll talk to you about things like photos and scripts and other bits and pieces. And you'll do all the pre-marketing. All right, so let's call that pre-marketing. That's where you get your realestate.com listing set up so that they can go live. You work out how much you're going to pay in commissions, how much you're going to spend on your marketing in total. They'll do brochures, they'll do boards, they'll do photos, they'll do scripts, they'll do all of these things in the background, prepping it.
Do you really need all that stuff?
Okay. Yes and no.
Mm.
Let's assume that for every property, it's marketing specific.
Okay, so when you say marketing specific, you're talking about a few people, not a whole lot of people. So Is it a price range? Is it...
It's property, not people.
And position? Yeah.
If I had the 88th floor
88th floor
of the Eureka Tower for sale.
Yeah.
And the entire floor was one apartment.
That'd be big.
There's a number of them up there.
Really?
Yeah, I'll send you some footage of some. I'm going to go for a walkthrough soon.
Take me for a walkthrough.
Okay. So there's a number of single level apartments in Eureka. Now Eureka is top 4, maybe top 3 towers in Melbourne. It's the second tallest tower in Melbourne. It's iconic. So if you had the 88th floor entirety from wall to wall...
How many squares would that be roughly?
I don't want to guess at this point in time. I couldn't tell you, but I'd say probably...
Size of an average home?
No.
Bigger?
Double
the size?
Double.
Wow.
Double.
Okay.
They normally get 6 to 8 apartments in there.
In that space?
Yeah. So I'd say on a wall-to-wall, you're talking about a 7-bedroom, 7-bathroom, 4 living area, double kitchen.
You need a lot of people to live in there.
You don't. Sometimes people just like space. The point that I'm making is that you're getting an idea of grandeur there, right?
Yes.
How many people are going to have the capacity to purchase that?
Not very many.
Very, very, very few.
What price you'd be looking up in the millions? Multiples.
Multiples. It depends on the fit out of it. The raw shells are about 15 million.
Right.
So
That's just a start.
if you bought a concrete shell, it's about 15 million.
And then you've got to fit it out.
Fit it out. 20, 25, and that's a cheapy fit out. And the point that I'm making is there's only a very small pool of buyers that would ever be.
Yeah.
So you're not going to do a letter drop around
Generally.
everywhere, and you're not going to take out, maybe you're not even going to take out a realestate.com ad. Because if you do, you go into the general public, 99.9% of whom can't buy it. This thing would be sold through networks.
Would those people in the general public go and look at that anyway, regardless?
Generally, it's by appointment only.
Is it? Okay, so
they don't open them on Saturdays.
Fair enough.
So you're not doing your opens on Saturdays. You're not going to do an auction, so you don't have a end of campaign scenario. You don't put a board out the front. You're not printing 1,000 brochures. You're printing 100 brochures. You're marketing through networks. You're not marketing through realestate.com. So the marketing package for that would be ideally greatly smaller than it would be for your 3-bedroom home in Bentley. So when I say it's specific, it's property specific.
Yeah, understand. And I'm just thinking about the cleaning. 7 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms. They collect a lot of dust.
Mindset's wrong. Mindset's wrong.
You'd have a cleaner, wouldn't you?
If you are buying a $25 million apartment that sits 88 stories above Melbourne, you have a cleaner.
Does the building sway? I mean, often I see that building when I'm walking, and it's covered in cloud at the top. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't know whether I'd like to be there.
Well, the amount of clients that I've bought for in towers, I've bought quite a few towers, all over Melbourne. One of the things that I get from a lot of my clients is they'll ring me and they'll go, there's something wrong with it. It's creaking. It's like I can hear it like somebody's banging on a window. It's creaking. And it'll be a 90-mile wind outside. And I'll say, it's just a tower moving. And they're like, no, it can't be. And it's like, it is. The way those towers are designed.
They move with...
Okay, so here's my engineering history, which is very minuscule, and I'll admit that it's tiny, but I know enough about it. There's a thing called a live load that needs to be applied to structures.
Yeah.
Now, live load is generally wind style. So when a building stands there without any wind on it, it can withstand a certain stress.
Yes.
If it's got a 20-mile-an-hour wind on it, or a 20-kilometre-an-hour wind on it, it's got a certain stress. If it's got a 90-kilometre-an-hour wind on it, it's got a certain stress. What they need to do is when they engineer the buildings, they engineer them for the highest component of stress at that time, if it was live. Right?
Yeah.
So they're designed to sway at a height. Now, if they were designed for the smallest, say 20-kilometre-an-hour wind, they'd be more rigid.
Yes.
They wouldn't sway as much. There wouldn't be as much noise. But the minute it got to 90 kilometres an hour, they'd fall over.
Yes.
So here's the very quick construction story for Melbourne that's fun. Do you remember the Big Wheel?
Oh, yes. Didn't the steel melt?
No. So what they did was they secured the concrete, the bolts into the concrete at the base. So that's the base of the structure as it was platformed. And that entire thing was designed for a 40-degree maximum temperature. And we had 3 days at 42 degrees or 2 days at 42 degrees, and the bolts expanded, they split the concrete, and the base of the structure became unstable. 2 degrees.
And that's all it took.
That's all it took.
Yeah. So they weren't forward thinking there.
Well, no, they got the engineering wrong. But it was $1 billion down and up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, so it's expensive. So I know that's miles from marketing.
Yes.
But the point is, when you market specifically to properties. If you're looking across it, we're doing broad brushing because the majority of people that are listening will probably be selling 3, 4, 5 bedroom homes that live in the burbs.
Yep.
Expect that you're going to do brochures, you're going to do scripts, you're going to do photos, and if the real estate agent ever says to you, do you want to pay a little bit extra for dusk photos? Pay the extra. It's that whole ambience of the sunset and the backlight, and So when you're selling a home or you're selling a property, ideally a home also,
Yeah.
you're selling to the emotional part of the person.
Of course.
And whatever triggers emotion is better for you.
Oh, the sunset. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
The ocean. The beach. All that.
All of it works.
Mm.
So you have a pre where you set all this up. Then you run 4 weeks of opens. And generally there are a weekend open and a midweek open. So you might run a Wednesday and a Saturday.
Right.
So you'll have 8 opens. The agents or the agent's reps will stand at the door and collect people's names, phone numbers, etc. for that 4 weeks. The end of every week or at the end of every open, depending on how diligent your agent is, they'll ring all of the people back that have been through. So what did you think?
That happen.
What do you think? What did you like? What did you dislike? Do you want the contract of sale when it's available, etc., etc.? It's just standard pro forma questions. Realistically, it's not that hard a job if you're doing it at a basic level. If you're really upscaling and you understand people and how to get the best out of situations, there's a lot more work to it, right? But the results are generally higher.
And it's about the approach and it's about the conversation you have with those people as they walk through that door.
Yeah.
And each person is different.
Correct.
So the conversation will be different and the types of questions that you would ask that are not invasive, but you're being curious about why they're there and what they're looking for. So the questions you ask gives you, the person standing at the door, an idea of whether they're really interested or not.
And it's feedback too. So the person selling the property needs to hear from the public what they do and don't like.
Right. Okay.
So that runs for 4 weeks. Then at the end of the 4 weeks, you've got the auction in most instances, or the end of the campaign, or whatever it might be. And the auction is the point in time when you as the buyers are asked to make your decisions.
A lot of people would walk in to a home and know exactly what they want, and when they see it or they get a feel for it, even though it isn't exactly what they want, they can see beyond what's there to make the changes to make it theirs.
When the emotional stories that you craft in your mind,
The emotional stories.
that you craft in your mind exceed the logic of the property.
Yes. Yes.
You may want a 5-bedroom, but it's only got 4 bedrooms.
Okay.
Right? But it's got this absolutely gorgeous outdoor entertaining area with a ceiling fan, plumbed-in barbecue. It's got a 10-seater table out there at the moment that looks like it was just shipped straight in from Tuscany. It's got the vines across the top. And you're sitting there on a Sunday afternoon enjoying the red wine, a good Chianti, a good pasta perhaps, maybe a salad, or you're really using that barbecue and just sizzling up that tomahawk knowing that it's coming. Right? You've got all your friends over, all your family,
Sounds good, doesn't it?
you're half a bowl of wine in and you're happy. It's 32 degrees and it's just bliss.
No.
No.
No. Don't need the 5th bedroom.
Don't need the 5th bedroom.
You've got the 5th bedroom outside. You can just get a lounge and lay in it and sleep outside at 32 degrees.
They can come and sleep on the couch. Right?
Yes. Yes. Well.
So that's ideally how it works. So when the stories that you tell yourself exceed the logic of the decision, right, then you're compromised.
Let me take you to now what they do is, because we've got all this technology, they actually go through room by room in video. So they take you through the house on video and you can kind of get a feel for it, but it's not a real feel. You just sort of get that feeling, think, oh, I'd like to look at that, because you're moving from room to room. There's so many things that we really need to know as a purchaser or a seller.
Yeah.
And to understand the market, it's really important to do your research,
Yep.
to have conversations with people who know their stuff,
Yep.
and who are honest and upfront with you and can take you to the place where you want to be and get the property that you actually want.
Yep. I'm going to drop into a real neo points of how things work here so that we're clear about a number of things.
Okay.
Normal marketing is a 4-week cycle to the public. Ignoring the pre is 4 weeks.
Right.
Right? Inspection, 8 inspections, 1 auction, point in time where you make your decision, done. When the property is listed, in Victoria it has to be listed with a price range. In New South Wales it doesn't. A couple of other different markets are.
Why are they so different?
Because every state has its own licensing for real estate and its own rules for real estate.
Okay. Why isn't it all in line?
That's a really good question.
Politics.
Mm-hmm. So you've normally got a 4-week campaign. In Victoria, a while ago now, there were a number of real estate agents that developed a very interesting methodology in relation to how they were marketing.
Okay, so changed it up a bit? Or changed it down? Or
we've all heard of off-market opportunities.
No.
You don't never heard of Okay, so
off-market opportunities.
All of my clients ring, a lot of my clients will ring me and say, "Hey Gary, I want to work with you. Can you bring me off-market opportunities?"
Okay, so please explain.
Things that aren't listed for sale.
Right. You often get real estate agents tapping on people's doors and saying, "Do you want to sell your home?"
Always, but they do it via mail. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not an off-market opportunity.
Okay.
So if I was going to list my property at 12 Smith Street, and I said to the agent, "I'm happy to sell my property at 12 Smith Street." He said, "What do you want for it?" I said, "I want $1 million." And he says, "Great." And he begins to do the formulation for the campaign. He signed me up as a vendor client, so it's not going anywhere else.
Right.
In the 2 weeks that it takes him to take photos and do all those sort of stuff, it's not technically on the market yet.
Mm-hmm.
But he speaks to as many people as he can off market
before it goes on to market.
And if somebody wants to buy it, they buy it before. If
you're young and you want to purchase a property, I think you need to have a conversation with not just real estate agents, but property advocates, buyers advocates, vendor advocates who can help you and support you through the process and get you the right deal. It's important that you take responsibility and understand what you're doing and know that you're making the right choices.
That's the thing. You've got to remember that the agent that you're working with, selling or buying, is on your side.
Yes.
Right? So if you're buying, if you're buying, have an agent that's on your side.
Yeah.
Right? If you're selling, have an agent that's on your side. Don't let the analysis, we've all heard the term analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Don't let that happen. Spend some time online looking at realestate.com to find a list of agents that are successful selling the type of property you have in the area that you have for the price point that you think your house is worth. Mm-hmm. And we all have that in our mind. Interview a few of them, find out which one you resonate with, have a look at their reviews, and that'll tell you whether or not they're trustworthy. And then take the punt.
So how do they find you?
Generally it's word of mouth, Facebook advertising, marketing, trade shows, all sorts of things.
I think you're becoming more popular these days as vendors advocates and buyers advocates are becoming more popular.
Yep.
In the scheme of things. I mean, you've got your real estate agent and then you've got someone in your background working for you to support you to get what you want.
Yep.
And I think that's a really important thing because we can all work together to get what we want. We'll leave it there for now, Gary.
Perfect.
But we will be back with some more conversations.
I look forward to it, Faye.
Thank you. I'm Faye Waterman. This has been Conversations with Faye. And if you want to know any more or contact Gary, go on to his Instagram. What's it called?
It's The Property Buyer.
The Property Buyer, or on his website, Garry McPherson, and you will find him there. Have a conversation. If you're not sure about what you're doing, see how you go. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back next week. Bye for now. Hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram. Changing lives, one conversation at a time.